In the summer of 1914, Europe looked peaceful, almost proud of itself. Cities were growing. Trains crossed borders. People believed the world was becoming more modern, more civilized. But beneath those bright summer skies, Europe was a powder keg, and every great power was holding a match. For years, the continent had been divided into two powerful alliances. On one side stood Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, the Triple Alliance. On the other stood France, Russia, and Britain, the Triple Entente. These alliances were meant to keep the peace. Instead, they turned every small problem into a potential world crisis. Old empires were afraid of disappearing. New nations were hungry for land. In the Balkans, the region between Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, small countries fought for independence and dreamed of uniting their own people. Serbia wanted to unite all Slavic people in the region. Austria-Hungary wanted to crush that dream before it tore their empire apart. Armies were growing, war plans were ready. Everyone hoped conflict would never come. But they were all preparing for it. Then came June 28th, 1914 Sarajevo, a city in Bosnia, controlled by Austria-Hungary. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, rode through the streets in an open car with his wife, Sophie. They smiled. They waved to the crowd. Hidden among those watching was a young Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip, part of a group that wanted Bosnia free from Austrian rule. 2 gunshots rang out. Franz Ferdinand was hit. Sophie was hit. Within minutes, both were dead. What should have remained a local tragedy in a distant city became the spark that set the world on fire. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia. Backed by its powerful ally, Germany, it sent Serbia a harsh ultimatum. Serbia accepted most of the demands, but not all Austria-Hungary was not satisfied. On July 28th, it declared war on Serbia. Russia, seeing itself as protector of the Slavs, began to mobilize its army to support Serbia. Germany warned Russia to stop. Russia continued. Germany declared war on Russia. France stood by its Russian ally. Germany declared war on France too. To reach France quickly, Germany invaded neutral Belgium. That brought Britain into the war. Within days, nearly every major power in Europe was at war. A local conflict had become World War I. Crowds cheered in the streets. Men marched with flowers on their uniforms, believing, "We'll be home by Christmas." They did not know that years of horror lay ahead on the Western Front. German armies swept into Belgium and France. They advanced dangerously close to Paris. In September 1914, at the Battle of the Marne, French and British forces made a desperate stand. Taxis from Paris rushed soldiers to the front lines. The German advance was finally stopped, but neither side could throw the other back. So they dug in. Trenches. Hundreds of kilometers of trenches from the North Sea all the way to Switzerland. Life inside these trenches was a waking nightmare. Mud that swallowed boots. Rain that turned the ground into filthy ponds. Rats crawling over sleeping bodies. Lice chewing at the skin. The stench of death hanging in the air. Shells exploded day and night, shaking the ground like endless thunder. Between the trenches lay the most feared place of all, no man's land. A wasteland of broken trees, shattered earth, barbed wire, and bodies that no one dared retrieve. A few meters of land could cost thousands of lives. Then came weapons the world had never seen on such a scale. Machine guns that cut down charging soldiers in seconds. Heavy artillery that destroyed entire trenches in a single blast. Poison gas drifting silently across the fields. Burning lungs, blinding eyes, leaving men choking in agony. Tanks appeared, metal beasts groaning through the mud. Airplanes, once fragile toys of the sky, became scouts and bombers. Battles dragged on for months. Lines barely moved. But the cost in human lives climbed higher and higher. At Verdun, France and Germany fought for 10 months. They shall not pass, the French vowed. Around 700,000 men were killed, wounded, or went missing, for only a few kilometers of destroyed land. At the Somme, the British tried to break through the German lines. On the first day alone, over 57,000 British soldiers were killed or wounded. An entire generation was being torn apart. And yet, even in this hell on earth, humanity did not completely disappear. On Christmas Eve, 1914, along parts of the Western Front, British and German soldiers heard something unexpected. Singing. They were singing the same song. Silent night. Guns fell quiet. Men climbed carefully out of their trenches. They shook hands, shared chocolate and cigarettes, showed photographs of family. Some even played football on the frozen ground of no man's land. For one night, enemies remembered that they were human. At dawn, the war returned, but that moment became a symbol of hope in the middle of despair. While the Western Front was locked in trenches, fighting raged elsewhere. On the Eastern Front, Germany and Austria-Hungary battled Russia across vast distances. Millions of soldiers fought and died in forests, fields, and snow. In time, Russia grew exhausted. Hunger, defeat, and anger led to revolution. In 1917, the Tsar fell. The new Bolshevik government pulled Russia out of the war. Germany saw a final chance to win before fresh enemies could arrive. That same year, 1917, the United States entered the war on the side of Britain and France. German submarines had sunk ships carrying civilians. A secret German message promising Mexico land if it attacked the U.S. was discovered. American patience snapped. The United States brought fresh soldiers, vast supplies, and new energy to the tired Allied armies. In 1918, Germany launched one last, desperate offensive on the Western Front. They struck hard. They pushed deep into France. For a moment, victory seemed within reach. But their soldiers were exhausted, hungry, and outnumbered. The Allies, now reinforced by American troops, stopped the advance, and then pushed back. German forces fell into retreat. At home, protests grew. The Navy mutinied. The Kaiser abdicated his throne. Germany's leaders saw no way to continue. On November 11th, 1918, at the 11th hour, the guns finally fell silent. The Great War was over. The cost was almost beyond belief. Around 20 million dead. More than 20 million wounded. Empires, the Austro-Hungarian, the Ottoman, the Russian, and the German, collapsed or were transformed. New countries were born. Borders were redrawn. The Treaty of Versailles punished Germany heavily, planting anger and resentment that would one day help lead to another war. The world tried to celebrate peace, but it was a fragile peace, built on grief and unfinished wounds. World War I is not only the story of generals, maps, and battles. It is the story of people. Young men who wrote letters they never had the chance to send. Families who waited at their doors for footsteps that never came. Children who learned too early what loss means. Moments of fear. Moments of courage. Moments of unexpected kindness between enemies. It is the story of a world that shattered itself and then had to learn, slowly and painfully, how to rebuild. Even today, More than a century later, we still hear the echoes of that war, in the borders of nations, in the cemeteries that stretch for miles, and in the quiet remembrance of those who endured it. If you loved this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. I would truly love to hear from you.